So are we good to go?
Yeah.
Hello everyone. We are back here today on the third day of Microsoft Student Partners Women Who Empower session, and today's session is going to be really awesome as today we are out with the results of one-on-one mentorship that Miri has offered. We have got a great news for everyone. Miri went through each and every story and she has decided that she'll be offering not just one but five mentorships. The results of those would be announced by our today's special guest, Dona Sarkar. So before we start, I would like to thank all of you for tuning in and also my fellow co-organizers for taking such a wonderful initiative to empower all the amazing ladies out there. Coming back to today's session, today we have none other than our very own Dona Sarkar, who is the principal advocate at Microsoft Power Platforms, and she'll be speaking about the imposter syndrome banishing spell that would help all of us to overcome the feeling of not being so qualified to be at the place where we are now. So, without any further ado, I would like Dona to empower all of us by her valuable talk. Thank you so much, Dona, for joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for having me here. So one of the things that, can you all see this?
Yes, Donna.
Yeah, you can. Okay, yay! Look at that. Okay, one of the things that I'd like to share with everyone today is that all of us at some point have this feeling that we are so out of our league, we're out of our depth, we're not qualified to be doing what we're doing. So for the next 25 minutes, I would like everyone to just be yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else will think because you're alone in your house and you can just be as authentic and as vulnerable as you need to be. Okay, so I'll ask you the questions. How many of you are convinced there's a mistake in a system somewhere and you got to where you are by accident? Whether it's in your class, in your job, in your life, how many of you feel that way? I won't be tuning into the chat because then I'll get distracted, but just be very, very honest with yourselves. And you can be honest because it turns out that you're probably wrong. It's a bad system if they let all of the people who are thinking this in by accident. And I felt this way many times in my life. I actually feel like this right now. And I will share with you today the story of why I feel like this and how I'm overcoming it. Okay. So a long time ago, this is maybe 10 years ago, I was feeling very impostery about a new tech project I'd taken on at Microsoft. It was a huge project. And for the first time, I was given a team. And my manager says, Donna, this is your team. These are your reports. And we would like you to lead this team and do this huge thing. And I thought, I am not qualified to be a manager. I'm not qualified to do this work. So I went to see my mentor. And she'd been my mentor for about a year, this incredibly successful person named Sangeeta. Sangeeta's sitting in her office and she works on the Excel mobile team. I'm sure all of you know what Excel is. So this is Excel on any sort of mobile device like phones or tablets or iPads or whatever. And she holds up this patent cube. She's surrounded by patent cubes. She's surrounded by maybe 100 patent cubes. She holds up this patent cube and says, do you know what this is? And I said, it's a patent cube, Sangeeta. She said, do you know why I have it? I said, because you invented something amazing in Excel. And she said, yeah, it's for something to do with tables and pivot tables and something. And I said, okay, cool. Now you're just showing off. And she says, no, Donna, I don't actually have any idea how anyone in the world uses pivot tables, but here I am collecting patents for them. I am not qualified to be here. And I thought that was the weirdest thing I've ever heard because I think she's one of the most successful people I've ever met in my entire life to this day. And I was shocked to hear that she felt this way. And she said, this is normal. Everybody in the world feels this way. So, of course, I didn't believe her. I thought she's my mentor. She's lying to me, making me feel good. So I went and did some research like a proper engineer. And it turned out that this is this global issue and people all over the world feel this way. And it's not just engineers. So there's a conference called Grace Hopper. It's a women in tech conference. It happens all over the world. I know you have in India as well. One year, the big keynote speaker was Sheryl Sandberg. Now, as you know, Sheryl Sandberg is incredibly successful operating officer of Facebook and has her own lean in organization. She stands there in front of 18,000 people on stage and announces, I am not qualified to take the Grace Hopper stage. And we're all thinking, why? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And she said, because I don't have a computer science degree. I am not a software engineer. I don't write code for a living. And we're all thinking, Cheryl, you're a billionaire who started a global movement. I think you get a pass. And she says, no, I just don't feel that way. So she feels impostery. Seth Godin is this world famous best-selling author. He's written 19 books on marketing. His books are amazing. If you ever want to read a book on marketing, read his books. And he wrote in the last one at the end, I am such an imposter. I'm such a hack. Any day now, the New York Times, the big magazine, the big newspaper in the US, is going to take out this huge ad, full page ad that says Seth Godin is a hack. He should be run out of town, never heard from again. He's convinced this is going to happen every single day. Third one, Howard Schultz. I'm sure all of you have heard of Starbucks. It's this global coffee chain. I don't think it's in India yet, but it will be someday. He started Starbucks from nothing. He was this poor kid in New Jersey, which is this not very rich place in the US. And he started Starbucks after a trip to Italy. And he always feels completely unqualified to be running a business because he thinks of him as a poor kid from New Jersey. But my favorite imposter syndrome is Neil Armstrong, who's the first person on the moon. He was at a party years ago and someone said, Neil, what's wrong? You seem so uncomfortable and out of depth. And he says, I am so not qualified to be here. All these people are such accomplished humans. All I did was go where I was sent. I just went where I was sent. And, you know, I always thought when one of the most famous people on the planet, the first guy who walked on the moon, feels this way, any one of us can feel this way. This is normal. So I realize imposter syndrome is as common as the common cold. And 70% of people experience this. And these are only 70% who've admitted it. That means I actually believe that 100% of people have felt this way at some point or another, that they're completely unqualified to be where they are. It's just like catching a cold. It will happen to you, but you can get over it. So the reason I know you can get over it is because I have done it. I have been an imposter in 4 different industries, and I have become a bit of an expert in how to overcome imposter syndrome. So I am a fashion designer. The room I'm sitting in is my own design studio, which is in my house. I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. I've been here for 14 years. I'm a published author of 7 books, which always feels a little weird. And I'm a public speaker. So I go around the world and talk about topics such as Microsoft tech as well as imposter syndrome. So I would like all of you to raise your hand to yourself in your house if you feel this way. All right, so be honest with yourself. There's a mistake in the process and I slipped in under the radar. So raise your hand if you feel that way. I feel this way all the time. I'm not as good as the people around me. So think about the other people in the Student Partners Program, other people in your classes, other people at your job. They all feel this way too, by the way. When I asked this question, 70% of people in the room raised their hand. That good thing that happened, it was dumb luck. I was in the right place at the right time. Yo, this is my thing. I'm convinced that I'm just extremely lucky. So everything I get or everything good that happens to me was a result of like incredibly good luck. Then my favorite, any minute now, someone's going to point at me and say, you're not qualified to be here. What are you doing here? Get out. I'm convinced it's going to happen. I'm convinced that any day now I will get tossed out of Microsoft for not actually being qualified to be here. And people are going to say, why are you on stage talking about this? You're not qualified to be here. If we were in a room together, you would have seen that almost everyone would have raised their hands. And the fact is, most people are convinced they're faking it. I've given this talk on stages all over the world. I gave this at a TED audience. And out of all the people in the room, everyone was raising their hand. I've given this at the UN. I've given this at the World Economic Forum. I've given this at Ignite. I've given this at Ignite Tour. People are always raising their hand. The most senior qualified people feel this way. That's why I keep giving this talk. So I'd like to share with you a personal situation I'm in right now with imposter syndrome. So recently, my boss and some of my peers told me that they would like me to create a YouTube or a Twitch channel where I write power apps live while the audience watches. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that? right? This is actually my face. This is literally my face when I got this text. I thought, what do you mean write power apps while the audience watches? That's weird. So I, of course, have to summon my lucky 10-step imposter syndrome banishing spell because I need to go through it myself. And I'd like to walk you through the thought process that I'm in right now. So this just happened last week. So this is not something I've overcome and I'm over it and I'm all really happy. I'm in the middle of it and I'll show you the step I'm on. Okay. First step, most important, is to identify what are you feeling unqualified to do and what are the realistic expectations. Okay. So I am feeling unqualified to be enough of an expert on Power Apps and Power Platform, which is a low-code app platform from Microsoft. So this is a low-code way for anyone to build apps, build chatbots, build websites, build automation, build AI. And the point is that anyone in the world, not just people who know how to code, can actually build these things. Now, I've been working on this for about 6 months. I am not an expert by any means. And I sure as hell am not an expert enough to live code while people ask questions and me answer them. That to me sounds crazy. I am not qualified to do this. Second step of the process, what do you lose out on if you don't do this? So for me, it's asking myself the question, what do I lose out on if I just pass up this opportunity and say, no, I'm, too busy or too, unqualified to do this. I can't do it. I think about all the people in the world who don't even know that this technology exists, right? This is a map of just Windows insiders, which is a thing I used to work on, people who run pre-release versions of Windows all over the world. This is people who are the leaders of tech. Look at all of the people who are in the black areas without the yellow dots. Those are all the people in the world who are not even aware that this tech exists. And these are very specific people. This is people like my dad. So my dad is Shamal. He worked at the Ford Motor Company for 10 years. Ford makes cars in the US and all over the world. He worked there for, 30 years. And as of 6 months ago, last year, he got laid off from his job. They were doing a big restructuring, and they said anyone who is not technical no longer can work at Ford. And my dad, while he's super smart, he works, with his hands and does a lot of manual stuff. He's not a technical person. He's not a software engineer. And I think about so many people like my dad who would really benefit from this technology. And if I don't do this, those people who aren't reading tech blogs all day but do watch YouTube will miss out on this opportunity. Next, I will miss out on the chance to help people like my dad. Okay. So 3, what will other people lose out on? Will they be better off if you don't do this? So this is removing myself from the equation and realizing, are there anyone else who are creating Power Apps kind of live coding channels? Maybe, they might be. I look around, I don't see that many. But I do see that people like Lauren, Lauren is an elementary school assistant principal here in where I live in Seattle. And she builds Power Apps a lot for her school. And she always has a lot of really interesting questions. And people like her would really benefit from some YouTube shows or YouTube channels. Like you can see she's got her own channel there. She would really benefit from people doing this on some sort of consistent basis, on a way where she can watch and learn and her students can watch and learn. So I am actually doing these people a disservice by not doing this work, by being scared. So 4th step of the spell, you have to break it down and figure out what steps are you actually qualified to do. So when you think about something that's a challenge, it's a huge, overwhelming challenge. It feels humongous. So what I find very helpful is to break it down into very, very tangible steps. Step 1, start your computer. Step 2, like tangible steps. So once you break it down, think about what are you qualified to do. For me, in terms of Power Apps, I do feel qualified to give presentations. I give presentations a lot. I gave this presentation at TED. Believe me, I was terrified, but I gave it. So I know I can give a presentation. Now, my big issue is I know how to give it in person. So I'm used to being on stage in front of lots of people, but I'm not used to being on video at all. I have no idea how to be on video. Like right now, I have no idea what I'm doing because I can't see any of you. And I have no idea if this is resonating. I don't know if all of you have gone to sleep. I have no idea. This might be a disaster. Second thing I am qualified to do is going back to let me go back a few here. Going back to here is I am actually qualified to teach people technology. I'm pretty good at learning a new thing and teaching it to people. This is me helping a young man in Lagos, Lagos, Nigeria, learn HoloLens development. His name is Yeshua. He's a CEO of a startup that does solar power roofs. And I love learning new tech and I love teaching it to people. So I do feel qualified to do that. And I do feel qualified to speak on stage. Now, which parts are you not qualified to do? Now, this is the part that's not fun because you have to figure out what you're not actually kind of good at, and probably those are the things you're going to have to become good at. Now, what am I not feeling qualified to do? One, I'm not feeling qualified to teach all of these 2.5 plus million citizen devs about Power Platform. Like, they are experts. They've gotten called out by Satya, our CEO, many times as being experts. These are people who are not professional developers, as in they're people who have not written Visual Studio Code their whole life. They're people who are picking up the Power Platform because they're good at Excel or they're good at SharePoint. They're good at configuring stuff. And they're using it to build solutions to solve their problems. Am I qualified to teach them how to use Power Platform? Absolutely not. They've been with the product since day one. I've been with the product for 6 months. How am I qualified to teach them? Second thing, I have no idea what people are talking about live coding. So I checked out Twitch. So check it out sometime, twitch.tv. There's a Code It Live channel. I think people are amazing who are on here. They're amazing and crazy because I have no idea how they do this. So you can see this guy. He's writing code while making jokes and talking to this guest over here. I have no idea how people do this. I can barely do one of those things at a time, much less have a bunch of people watching me write code while making jokes and talking to a guest. There's no way I am qualified to do this Twitch thing. No. So now that you've identified what you're really scared of, you figure out who is qualified to do what you're not. This picture is my crew. This is the group of people who I ping whenever I'm stressed or scared, and they yell at me, and we together figure out how to get over my fears. So first, I have to identify who's good at doing the things that I'm not good at. These are a group of citizen developers at Heathrow Airport. So these are a group of people who took on Power Platform. A lot of them used to be security guards at Heathrow, and they took on Power Platform, used it, and now they've all become IT experts. I think that's an amazing story and so very cool, because these are the people who are becoming experts day by day because they actually live and breathe Power Platform constantly. So I know people who are experts here. Next, how did the qualified people learn, and how can you do the same? So once you identify who is qualified, figure out what is their process for learning and growing. Again, you can see here's my crew ready to yell at me when I'm not doing the thing. So I looked up one of the members of the Power Platform crew, Chris Huntingford. All of you should follow him on Twitter and LinkedIn and all the things. If you haven't, he's wonderful. He's very funny. And he built the solution on YouTube. He builds a full UFO management solution using Power Platform in 45 minutes. Like end to end from scratch, he builds a solution. And I'm thinking, how the heck do you build a thing in 45 minutes? I have no idea, but he knows how. And he's been doing this for many years, and he showcased how to do it on YouTube. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to go watch his YouTube thing, see how he does it. How does he answer questions? Does he answer questions? And once I learn to do this, I will do the next step, the small experiment. So Microsoft is a company that's all about experiments. If we ever want to try a new thing, we just say, hey, I want to do a small experiment and try. So if any of you work at a company or work at a school and you want to try a new thing, just call it an experiment. It's the best way. Don't call it a project or a process or a product. Don't do any of it. Call it an experiment. So I am doing a series of small experiments. I decided I'm going to do a live coding 1-hour demo on Wednesday. So if any of you are free it's at 8 a.m. Pacific time, which is 1 hour ago on Wednesday, your time, whatever time that is. I think it's 10 o'clock there at night, your time right now. So I guess 9 o'clock on Wednesday. So if you want to tune in and catch this, go for it. You can find my LinkedIn post to register. So I'm going to be doing my very first live coding thing on Wednesday. Now, is it going to be like Chris end-to-end perfect in 45 minutes? Absolutely not. It's going to be full of disasters and I'm not going to know what I'm doing, but that's okay because I am building an end-to-end solution for my own fashion line. So it's a business that I know very well. And I'm going to be building a Power App to track my inventory, a virtual agent, which is a chatbot to answer customer questions, a dashboard to look at sales, a Teams channel to host all this stuff so my team can see it. And then I'm going to show everyone how to use CDS to scale. Now, I haven't actually built this yet, so this may not be exactly as is, but we're going to try. So to lead up to this, I am doing a series of experiments. First, I'm basing my entire demo on something I know very well, which is my fashion line on the side, Prima Donna, because I'm Donna. And Prima Donna is a fashion line that seeks to disrupt the old school fashion industry because I think it's evil and terrible. It's a whole other story. So I'm using my fashion line and my customer data to be the use case for this. Now, because I know the business problems and the data very well, I feel much better about this technology building. So first, I'm building this customer chatbot. It's really, really easy to build this bot. It's kind of like Visio, where you draw boxes and arrows and if-then statements. There's no code involved whatsoever here. So I started playing around with this chatbot, and I got a few people to try it out. And of course, the bot got major attitude because I have major attitude. So it was pretty fun building this bot. Then I shared on Twitter, I think it was yesterday or day before, that I was going to turn my Prima Donna FAQ page. So you can see that I've got an FAQ page on my Prima Donna Studio site, and I've translated that into a chatbot so people can try. So by the way, over here, you can see Miri in this picture because she's one of my models and one of my muses for Prima Donna. So it was a very fun photo shoot and design process with her, by the way. So this makes me feel better just doing this experiment because I'm like, okay, I kind of got this. I understand my fashion line. I know how to build a bot. Now I just need to figure out how to do it in front of people. The ninth step, and this is probably the most important one, which is what advice would you give a friend? Go do that advice. The main advice I give everybody is build up a textable tribe. So this is a group of people who will yell at you. You know, you need those friends who will push you out of your comfort zone, who will tell you you're being a whiner, who will yell at you, and who will make you do the thing. So this is not the time to call your pessimistic friend, right? We all always have that pessimistic friend, or maybe we have that parent or sibling who are like, yeah, I don't know if you're ready to do this. Maybe you shouldn't. So for me, my mom is like that, where if I tell her, hey, I got this new job opportunity, she's like, oh, are you sure you can do it? Maybe there's someone else, etc. So I don't ask her. I don't ask her because she will make my imposter syndrome worse. Instead, I ask this group of people, my delinquent squad, I said, you can see that this was like 30 minutes ago. I said, I'm sharing the story about how I'm being a whiny bitch, excuse my language, live coding Power Apps. I'm too scared to write code while answering questions and being entertaining. And my friend Paul's already yelled at me. And Raji, who if you haven't had on the show, you should have her. She said, you've written kernel code, you're impostoring. And I'm like, yeah, but I have not written kernel code while answering questions and being funny. I'm like, this is crazy. So they yell at me and told me you're doing it. And then sometimes you just have to do the thing. So this is a picture of the time that I brought 3 actually student partners and MVPs to campus. And I told them that they were going to be meeting with a bot expert. And I made them meet Satya. So he is a bot expert. And they were so scared, but they did the thing anyway. They all presented their project to Satya, and he sat and talked to each of them for 20 minutes and helped them. So I spend all my time pushing others out of the comfort zone. It was only fair that some people pushed me out of my comfort zone. So here's the thing that I've done. I've created my YouTube channel. You can see I have an amazing 10 subscribers. That's probably okay because only 10 people should watch me do this. But what I'm going to do is do some coding, live coding, record videos and upload them. So this will get rid of this fear of live coding, which is good. And then once I get good at this, then I can do live coding on Twitch so I can answer questions. For me, the way I learn is to do one thing at a time. So if I go from not having a clue to suddenly trying to do Twitch, where I'm live coding and answer questions and being funny, I'll fail horribly. So instead, I'm going to start with YouTube, get okay at YouTube, then I'll do Twitch. So You'll be seeing a lot of my code for the audience experiments on YouTube. If you care, you can follow. I wouldn't follow. It's going to be bad for a long time. So I invite all of you to use the spell as you choose. You can use it as prescribed or in doses whenever you need. I find myself having to go through this entire 10-step process quite a bit. Probably every other month, I have to go through this process for some new thing. So I guarantee the next time you ask me to do this, I'm going to be going through this process again for something totally else. I actually wrote this into a book because there are so many people in the world who reach out to me and tell me, Donna, I feel like this all the time. I feel like this now. So I collected a bunch of stories from people who you know from all over the world who deal with imposter syndrome. And I wrote it all down into something practical that hopefully will help you. I get a lot of comments from readers on this book. They tell me, like, I feel like you're talking to the most scared, vulnerable part of me. And that makes me feel really good because the most scared, vulnerable part of me is talking to the most scared, vulnerable part of you. And that's why it feels real and authentic and genuine. Anyway, you can find it on Amazon if you care, if you need to read more case studies and examples and details on how to get over this stuff. But keep in mind that you got this. Everybody is an imposter. I'm an imposter. Your friends are imposters. Half the people on this call are imposters. Actually, science shows 70% of the people on this call are imposters. Our tribe of imposters are with you. And because it's me, we're not leaving here without homework, okay? So I'd like everyone to take a picture or a screenshot of this page right here. I will wait. You're going to do 3 things, okay? 1, you're going to build your first Power App. You can do it. Even if you're not technical, even if you have no idea what code is, you can do it. Go do it. Go do it. Then I want you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very easy to find, Dona Sarkar, and show me the screenshot of your final app, just of the tutorial. It's very, very straightforward. Like, my dad can do it. You can do it. Okay. And 3, I will choose one person to mentor on Wednesday, April 22nd. Initially, I said I don't have time to do it, but I'm going to do it because this is a very important group of people. And I will choose from the people who submit to me their Power App via LinkedIn. Okay. So that is what I had. I'm going to get out of this view and try to get back into Teams so we can resume our conversation. Alrighty. So we have 5 winners. Are we ready to announce them? So Miri promised you 5 mentorship sessions. I don't know where the streaming thing went. Hang on. So this is why I shouldn't code and do this at the same time, because I've no idea how to be entertaining while trying to look stuff up. So Miri has promised 5 mentorship sessions. Okay. And I'm going to try to pronounce these names as right as I can. So here we go. They are 1, Pallavi Sahu. Yay, Pallavi, congratulations. Hopefully you're on the call. 2, Asta Verma. Hopefully you're on the call, Asta. 3, Cynthia Iradukunda. Cynthia Iradukunda. Hopefully you're on the call, Cynthia. 4, Priyanshi Ahuja. And 5, Mary Thompson, who I know very well. Now, all of you are incredibly lucky because Mary is an amazing mentor, and I would really, really encourage all of you to help her craft your story for you. Make sure you come with something. Make sure you come with a good story. She'll yell at you. She won't yell at you. That's just me. So make sure you come with some sort of an outline of a story you want to tell, what you're all about, what you want, how you want to make others feel with your brand. And then she will help you craft it. And once she helps you craft it, make sure to put that everywhere. Put it on your LinkedIn bio, your Twitter bio, your Instagram, everywhere. Okay, because that is the kind of story that will carry you throughout your career. I think that's all of my assignments for now. If any of the co-presenters want to chime in and let me know what's next.
Thank you so much. Can you hear
Awesome.
me?
I can hear you great.
That's wonderful. That was indeed a very inspiring session, Donna. We're so happy that you could join us today and help us gain a perspective towards the imposter syndrome. We
Of course.
here, the MSP community, believe that it is important for the women out there to feel a sense of belonging. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much for helping us achieve the same.
You're so welcome. And just keep in mind, everyone feels like this.
We will definitely do that. Donna, a few members I believe have a few questions to ask.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'll just bring them on. Okay,
Yes.
we have Simran who asked, how do you do four things at the same time and do them so also well? What are some types of
Um,
management that you can use?
okay. So Simran, a few things. One, I don't do four things at the same time. I do two things at the same time. So I always have my day job. Always, because I love it and tech yay. I always might do my day job and one more thing, but I don't try to write a book while designing this fashion line and trying to be on a major tour at the same time. It usually is just like a one or two thing activity. So, for example, when I was writing Imposter Syndrome, I was not working on my fashion line. I wrote Imposter Syndrome last year before my fashion line even launched. Now that I have launched my fashion line, it's kind of going. Things are on wheels. It's kind of more automated. Therefore, now I can focus heavily on maybe writing my next book. But I am very particular about time management in general. And more important than time management, it's really energy management. So here's what I mean by that. I am very, very, very strict about saying no to things that don't bring me energy. So, what I mean by that is I don't do obligations. And I know that's super, super weird for many people is not doing obligations. So, someone's having a housewarming party? No. Someone is like, hey, will you make this thing for the bake sale? No, I won't, because that's not something that makes me feel energetic or brings me any sort of happiness, so I don't do it. Of course, there's obligations you have to do, like you have to do this meeting is boring, I'll do the meeting anyway, but you have to do it. So I don't do obligations. But the way I break up my time is I wake up really, really early. So I wake up around 4 or 5 a.m. every day, even today. And in the morning is when I do all my fashion design time. So in the morning is where I sketch designs here. And then I do a bunch of sewing and steaming. You can see I have all my stuff in this room. So I do my sewing, my cutting, my sewing, my steaming, and photographing stuff. I do it all in the morning. So between 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., I do all of it. I also have tailors in Detroit, where I grew up in the US, in Nigeria, and in Indonesia, in Jakarta. So those are the times I actually talk to my tailors. So it's perfect early morning work. Then from 8 to about 6, it's all tech, nothing but tech. And in the evening is where I have all my social, talking to friends, etc. Now, when I'm on a speaking gig, it's going to be speaking, tech. That's it. Only 2 things a day, and that's it. Does that help?
Yes, Donna, that was very helpful. Thank you. We have Mrityunjay who asks, how can people with disabilities do well in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics?
Perfect. I think people with disabilities do extra well, actually. And here's why. Because 1 in 4 people in the world have a disability of some sort or another. I am one of them. I am dyslexic. So what that means is I mix up letters and numbers all the time. I didn't know that until like 3 years ago, and I'm old. So it's very, very normal for someone to have a disability and not even know when they're growing up, because you may just feel stupid or not as good as the people around you, and that actually leads to imposter syndrome. So the reason people with disabilities can do really well is because they can build technology and build things for people like them. So build your personal brand around helping people like you. For example, one of the things I believe is your personal brand is how you help people in the world. So one of the things in my brand is you can see on my Twitter bio, it says dyslexic but dealing. So I spend a lot of time trying out all the tools for dyslexic people, giving feedback on these tools, pointing these tools to other people. and generally making sure that when we build something at Microsoft, it is accessible for people who are dyslexic. Now, I try my best to make sure it's also accessible for others, maybe people who are blind or hard of hearing, but because I don't have those, I'm less good at it. So for all of you who feel, how do I have a place here? This industry needs you more than it needs abled people, because there are more people with disabilities than anyone is aware of. I truly believe it's 1 in 4, and it might actually be more, but people just don't know, right? So you should definitely use all the tools that are out there. You should give feedback on those tools, and you should raise your hand to help build other tools to help people like you. You're the most qualified to do this job by a lot, and definitely build your personal brand around it. You'll find yourself very, very employable.
Thank you, Donna. I'm sure a lot of people feel so inspired listening to that. We have another question.
Mhm.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, no, go on.
Yes, we have Pallavi who asks, how do you handle rejection, or how do you handle no?
Awesome. Okay, so hearing no is very hard, and rejection is hard. So the key here is to remember something really important. Think about the last time you said no to someone for something. Okay, so just think about it. Remember what it was, whatever it was. If someone asked you for help, if someone asked you for money, if someone asked you for, whatever it is, your time, think about the last time you said no. Okay. Did you say no because you hate that person and you think that person is an idiot? Nope. You said no because you don't have time or you don't have money, right? No's are not personal. It's just usually a business decision, or it's a time thing. So I'll tell you the story about how I became an author. In 2002, I decided I want to be a published author. So I did the old school way, which is I wrote a book, I tried to get a literary agent, and then I wanted the literary agent to help me find a publishing house, which is how it works in the US. Now, I wrote my first book, went to a writer's conference, and attempted to get a literary agent. I queried, so you send a query letter to literary agents. I sent to 80 agents. Guess how many said yes? 0. Okay. I wrote another book. So the best advice is keep moving forward, right? Okay, so I wrote another book, sent it out to 80 literary agents. Guess how many literary agents said they wanted to represent me? 0. Okay, that's not going well, right? Most people at this point would give up. I'm like, no, I'm going to do the thing 5 times. It's my motto, do the thing 5 times. So I wrote another book, went to writer's conference, sent out 80 queries. At that time, I think I sent like 150 queries. One person said they're interested in reading this book. And after a lot of talking, she said, this is not right for me. And I'm like, she said, this is not right for me, but send me your next book. I'm like, I like your voice, send me your next book. I said, okay. So I wrote another book, this book 4, just so you know. Sent 140 people plus her, my next book. And she said, this is good, I want to represent this. So I got a literary agent. It took 4 years, 4 books, but I got one. So the key to rejection is really 2 things, Pallavi. 1, keep in mind that it's not personal. It's not about your skill set or you as a human. It has everything to do with the business situation or just timing. It's just timing. And the best thing you can do is keep building your skills and doing the thing again and trying the thing again. But I know it's so easy to say and so hard to do. That's why it's so important to have a textable tribe. Build up a tribe of people whose job it is to kick your ass, okay? So what kept me going is the group of people I surrounded myself around, and I'd say, oh my God, I got rejected. They're like, that's great, write your next book. These are not your nice friends who are like, oh, I'm so sorry, maybe you should do something else. No, this is the group of friends who kick your ass and say, I don't care, write your next book, do it now, right? And that is really the best way to get through it. Plus, at the end of it, you have an amazing story to tell.
That's right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Donna. Next,
Thank you.
we have Debanjana who asks, how do you start a conversation or communicate with people? She says this has been her biggest weakness. And she thinks 1,000 times before even saying a hello.
Okay, that's fair. I, by the way, used to be incredibly shy, like the shyest person you've ever met. I would go to a party or an event, stand in the corner and leave. I would be that girl. I'm not kidding. To this day, I don't love going to like big events by myself. It's not my thing. So here is what I found to be kind of efficient is figure out what you have in common. Okay. So I generally start conversations with people when we have something in common. We're at the same place, or if I'm reaching out to them online, we have something in common. There's some reason that I'm approaching this person. So if it's in person, I would go up to them and say, how did you hear about this event? Or if it's at a social thing, how do you know blah? Right? Because you're both there doing the thing. So if it's something targeted, like you're reaching out to someone on Twitter or LinkedIn, ask them something about their work. So do a bit of research. So say you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn or Twitter and they're an expert in AI. Say, I really loved that article or that research paper or talk you gave on AI. What I thought was very cool was the specific takeaway or this line you used. And I felt it really resonated with me because of this reason. So be extremely specific about why you're reaching out to them or why you're wanting to connect with them. So online and in person, I feel are totally different because in person, you're getting cues that you're now engaging in dialogue. In online, you have to be very targeted because most people are quite busy. So you have to be very specific with why you're reaching out, and it helps to lead with their work, something that they're intensely passionate about. But don't worry about it. This is very normal. I ask myself this all the time. What is a good way to start a conversation? Dumb ways are like, traffic is bad, because it leads to dead end conversations. But how did you hear about this event, or how do you know this person is good? Because they'll say, oh, I heard about it from my school. Oh, what school do you go to? Blah, blah. Oh, cool. I have friends over there. What are you studying? Etc. But the best way for me to have a conversation is to ask lots of questions. So ask questions. People love to feel heard and valued and appreciated. And when you can give someone the gift of your attention, it's the best gift you can give them, and people will like to talk to you. So lead with questions.
That's something we all would remember, Donna. Thank you.
Awesome.
We have the next question from Salman, who asked, how do you deal with haters against disabilities?
Yeah. Haters against disabilities, they're the worst, Salman. I'll tell you that. So there are so many people out there who are haters because they have nothing else to do. Honestly, just haters in general. They have nothing else to do. And they are extremely insecure people. Extremely, extremely insecure people. So I found there are really like three options. Okay. One, of course, ignore it, which is the easiest thing to do and often the best thing to do. So, for example, if someone's like, blind people don't belong in tech, if they post this somewhere, just delete. They have no place on my LinkedIn posts or whatever. Twitter, you can't delete, unfortunately, so you just ignore. In person, it's just look at them like they're a total idiot and just walk away. There's no reason to engage with the crazy person. You wouldn't talk to the crazy man on the street yelling at you. Why would you talk to this person? No, they're obviously like a horribly hateful, biased person. There's no reason to engage. Second thing, if it's a reasonable person who you actually respect and you want to build a relationship with, you would go with, tell me why you think that. Right? So lead with questions. So I think it just depends on whether you want to build a relationship with the person or not. Most haters, I don't, because I don't have time for this. There's too many good people in the world to engage with to deal with haters. It's just not useful. But people who I actually want to build a relationship with and who I want to change the mind of, I lead with, why do you think that? So, for example, people are like, people with autism aren't as good engineers, or people who are blind are not as good, at hardware. Why do you think that? Just ask them, put it in their court, and they'll say, oh, because I knew a guy once, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you knew a guy once. I knew a guy once who wasn't autistic, and he was not good at software engineering. Does that mean all people without autism are bad at software engineering? No, right? I just asked the question, why do you think that? And put it in their corner to really question why they're making this assumption and this statement. But Salman, it's not easy. And honestly, the third solution that I use a lot, is go get a band of people who support you and outnumber them. My thing is always outlive and outnumber them. So for anyone who's truly horrible, I'm just like, I'm going to outlive you. I'm like, look, I'm young, I'm female, I'm going to outlive you. It's just going to happen, right? And Salman, you too are young. You're not female, but you're young. You were going to outlive most haters. Plus, you're very passionate. So,
Thank you, Dona. That was much needed. We have Ayushi next, who asks, how do you motivate yourself every day?
How do I motivate myself every day? Okay. For me, really, it's setting one intention for the day, and that's it. Okay, this is not a to-do list. It's not your boring to-do list. This is setting one intention. You say, if I do this one thing today, it's been a successful day. Okay, and that can be anything. And this is going to sound so hippy-dippy, and you're going to think, you know, I'm some sort of like hippie vegan from the 70s, which I guess I am. I wrote it down, right? So every day I make a journal entry. I do this in the morning. It's 4. So journal entry, the intention of today is to do blah. And whatever that intention is, today's intention actually is to hopefully share something useful with all of you. So I wrote down today, my intention is to share with the Microsoft student partners something that might be useful to them. And that's it. If I have done that, then I consider myself to have a successful day. But I've learned if you give yourself one very specific intention, you have something to go toward. And that will motivate you to do a bunch of other stuff because, you know, we're objects in motion, where an object in motion stays in motion. Once we get going on stuff, we get highly motivated to do other stuff, right? It's like, oh, I'm not feeling that motivated to learn AI Builder today. I'm like, that's fine. All I have to do is open the app and figure out how to make a new project. That's all. Tell yourself you're going to do one thing. Once you do that, then you're going to be very motivated to find the next thing. So trick yourself into it by, you know, you were like kids, right? You say, no, kid doesn't want to brush their teeth. That's okay. Let's just go and turn on the tap, right? Let's just go put toothpaste on the toothbrush. Just motivate yourself with one tiny step. That's all.
One thing at a time. That's definitely the way to go. Thank you, Dona.
One tiny thing.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Sidesh, who asks how he can motivate himself. His problem is that he has been trying hard to learn a new technology, Azure, and there's a ton of resources available. But he isn't able to get himself to study for more than half an hour a day, and his progress is slow.
Yep. Okay. So, dude, I feel you because I have attention problems a lot. I can only do tech stuff for like 25 minutes at a time. Okay. Now, I've had an 18-year career in tech doing this. So it's not bad. It just means that your brain works differently than other people who have long attention spans. Okay. I have a friend, a very good friend. He has an amazing attention span. He can focus on one thing for 8 hours. I'm like, I give you 25 minutes and that's it. So what I do is I set a timer, 25 minutes. Okay. I'll decide again I'm going to do this one thing. I'm going to learn. So imagine, you know, we're in Azure portal also is intense and terrifying. So I say, today I'm going to figure out Azure Blob Storage. I'm going to figure out how to make an account, how to store a picture, and then how to refer to the picture from somewhere else. That's all. Just set the intention and say, that is the one thing I'm going to do for these next 25 minutes. The reason we have so much focus issues is because there's so much going on, right? And in our brain. So set the timer, set it for 25 minutes, put it away. So take your phone and like put it over there on the other side of the room. You cannot reach it, okay? Set it, the timer set, you know it's 25 minutes. Then do that thing. Say, okay, Azure Blob Storage, look up Azure Blob Storage, click. Then go to it and say, all right, here's how to set it up and here's the account and blah, blah, blah. And I need to put a picture and put the picture and then refer to the picture from somewhere. And suddenly, yep, you've figured out Azure Blob Storage. Write it down. Okay, write it down somewhere. I write down everything in a OneNote, how to set up Azure Blob Storage. This link, this step, this step, this step. Move on, next thing. So now 25 minutes is probably passed. You could do one of two things. One, give yourself a little break, or you just set the timer and do the next thing. Probably you'll be motivated that you'll want to now do the next thing, right? One thing that actually motivates me a lot, and this is going to sound so weird, is sharing my progress as I go with people. So what I often do is have the shared this OneNote, and I share it with someone who's in my Textable tribe. Again, I'm a big fan of the Textable tribe. So I'll share with someone else who's also going through this and saying, hey, guess what? I figured out Azure Blob Storage. And they'll be like, yeah, awesome. This is so cool. Then I'll move on to the next thing. So for me, it helps to do three things. One, set a timer. Two, really focus on doing exactly one tiny chunk of work for those 25 minutes. And three, sharing that work with someone else. So try it. I'm actually going to write that down because I like that technique, and hopefully I'll remember it next time.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you so much. And we'll have the last question now, since I don't have enough time.
Awesome.
We have someone who asks how to keep continuing on something I'm passionate about, even if things around aren't going as planned.
Perfect. So how do you keep going on something you're passionate about, even when things are kind of going to hell around you? I actually find it better to have that mission, to know exactly what matters to you and what is important to you, especially when things are going to hell, because it's the one stabilizing factor in your life, right? We, as humans, we want to control something. And often when everything is going to hell, we feel like we're losing control of everything. So I'll give you a real example that's happening to me. We in the US are in a lockdown. I'm sure all of you are too. So all of the things that I usually do are now canceled. So I speak at a ton of conferences. I do a lot of traveling. Cancel, cancel, cancel. I go into the office, see my team, cancel, cancel, cancel. I have lots of social events and lots of people to see, cancel, cancel, cancel. So I feel like I've lost control of everything, and everything's going to hell. I can't see my family. I can't see my sister. I can't see my nephew. I can't see my friends. Can't see my customers. What the hell? This sucks. Okay, this sucks. But what I do have control over is one thing, which is learning Power Platform very well. And that's something that is important to me, because tech upskilling, I believe, is one of the most important things in the world we can be focusing on, especially those of us who are kind of technical, and it's our job to teach everyone else in our lives, right? So for me, that's the mission. I believe that 7.6 billion people should have the opportunity to learn tech if they want to. Now, I have a very clear mission. Can I focus on that while we're here in this lockdown? Yes. So I will now do that. That's what I've been spending my last 6 weeks doing, is working on Power Platform stuff. So I've been building demos, signing up for these live code things, giving talks on this, writing a bunch of random apps. And, next step is just share them out all on GitHub so other people can see them. But it really is maintaining control over one thing in your life. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be an exercise regimen, right? It can be something like every day I'm going to do 10 push-ups no matter what. That is the one thing I want control of. And that is my mission, to get really, really fit. But figure out what matters to you. What is your core driving function? What is your mission? And once you know what that is, keep an eye on it. Doesn't matter what is going on around you. Just, obstacle through it and just reach your mission, right? You got to work through the obstacles, but you know what your mission is. We're like dogs. You put the treat there, we'll get to it, right? We'll get to it. Doesn't matter what else is in the way, we will get to it. Does that help?
Yes, Donna, that was very helpful. Thank you so much for that. And I think that's all we have. That's all the questions we have for today.
Okay.
I have to thank you so much. Thank you for today, Donna. Thank you for the session. And a huge congratulations to all those women who won the mentorship with Miri today.
Yes. You guys will enjoy yourself a lot. You ladies will enjoy yourself a lot. Remember, come with an idea what you want your brand story to be. She's going to ask you hard questions. And the best thing you can do is invest in yourself so you can walk away from it with knowing your story and what story you want to tell the world. Now, for my mentorship session, I'm a lot stricter than Mary. So you're going to build a Power App. You're going to connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'm going to choose someone on Wednesday to mentor for an hour. And I would really, really, really love for that person to be passionate about tech skilling, because it's something I believe in deeply. And I actually do believe it's women's responsibility to upskill people in their lives, because, we're really good at it. like, I'm not being sexist. We're quite good at it. Most teachers in the world are women. So we're good at it. We're good at tech, and people listen to us because they have less ego about listening to us. It's really random and interesting. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having me. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you all.
Thank you, Donna. And everyone out there, please do try for Donna's mentorship too. And I'm so grateful for the audience that we have. Thank you for the support, patience, and your presence.
Of course. Thank
Truly
you.
honored. We're truly
Okay.
honored to have had all of y'all, the speakers for all the 3 days. It was brilliant talking to y'all, brilliant hearing from y'all. And lastly, a huge, 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 huge thank you for all the organizers here. It's indeed been a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you, organizers.
Thank you
Talk
so
soon.
much. Thank you so much, Dona.
Thank you. Have a great day, y'all. Actually, go to sleep. Actually, all of you go to sleep.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. Bye.
Bye. See ya.